So I wanted to share a practice with you which I kind of naturally slipped into when I found I was battling with my thoughts and emotions quite a lot, and I was trying to make sense of how do I find peace, how do I find stability, how do I handle changing thoughts and emotions in a more efficient and effective way without feeling overwhelmed or without my emotions running amok. So this practice I kind of developed because I was trying different things and they weren't really working for me. I mean, they had their utility, and what I've done with this practice is taken different people's teachings and then kind of molded them together, changed them a little bit, taken bits out and added my own unique flair, to paraphrase Bruce Lee there. And I found that it worked for me. So definitely important having teachers and doing research and studying. For me, I find studying different schools of thought led by my heart important, because it shows me if I can find any patterns or parallels and then apply it. I think without application, there's no experience to back up what you've learnt on an intellectual level. So me personally, I like to learn the theology first, the theory, and then the practical. Sometimes not always possible. But the reason I wanted to share this was because it's really helped me. One of the things I struggled with was, you see the whiteboard behind me there. Imagine that whiteboard just represents the empty mind before thoughts start to come in. But then as we start to think and as we start to hear other people's thoughts coming in, that imagine the thoughts are coming up on that whiteboard there. So every time you have a thought, it starts to come through a bit like I forgot what they call now, a teleprompter, where it on the screen it tells you what words to speak. So imagine that's like a teleprompter for your brain. So imagine, rather than your thoughts not being visible, they visibly appear on the whiteboard, but then as each thought comes by, it passes through, and underlying those thoughts are our feelings. And I was hearing all these different, I was doing my research. I wanted to be free of my inner turmoil. I wanted to understand these things called enlightenment or liberation or peace and mindfulness and all these things. I wanted to understand it and practice them, because I felt like it was going to lead me somewhere and be the solution to the inner turmoil that I was feeling. So I had my outer world sorted through my physical practice and whatever else. But inwardly is the space that I felt like you can't run away from your mind and your emotions. You carry them wherever you go. And physical exercise only helps so much. So I will get to the practice, by the way. I'm just kind of pre-framing it and giving you the little backstory with it based on so this is all experiential stuff. And I don't really tend to share stuff which I haven't used or practiced or experienced myself. If I've read about it but haven't experienced it, I won't share it unless I explicitly state that. So and then I was looking at the mind, and then we've got this thing of where you've got this inner turmoil, or I had this inner turmoil, and it was appearing on the screen of my mind, but then the solution was coming in of, oh, why don't you do this and why don't you do that? And people giving solutions which were very useful solutions, but then there would be this conflict of these different thoughts. So you'd have all these different schools of thought appearing on the screen of mind. So imagine that whiteboard there represents the totality of your mind. Obviously we can imagine it's infinite, but just for now, for demonstration purposes. Now imagine all the different schools of thought that you've got coming up on there. We'll use diet as an example. There's so many different diet plans out there and advice around diet. And then what happens is like you've got the you, and then you've got all these different voices in your head, and they tend to conflict. And it's like, oh, how do I make a decision now? I've got all these things going on. I've lost myself amidst all this. Like, what am I? Who am I? And there's some really great teachings out there. There's a lot of good content out there. There's a lot of bollocks out there too. But amidst all these thoughts and then all these different ideas and different practices and things to do, well, how do I figure out what I actually need? Where am I in all this? What are my thoughts and what are somebody else's thoughts? And it was this, I had this thing of like, okay, I'm losing myself in all this wisdom and all this knowledge that I'm gaining from others. And I can't hear the sound of my own voice. So on one hand, I've got, voices of others, let's call it the voice of the ego, if you like. And then you've got your true self underneath all that. And this is where meditation came in really handy for me, because it helped me sort the two out, and then I was able to see the difference between the two with practice. And it's a little bit like, imagine sorting, let's say you've got loads of paperwork and you need to sort it by date order. You've got to sort it and then you can start to look through it. Similarly, if you've got a garage full of stuff that you don't need, you might want to sort it first, and then right on one side you're gonna keep this stuff, and this side you're gonna get rid of it. And I think this is where I felt I was going lost, because I never trusted my own voice. I didn't even know how to hear it. So I was always looking at other people's stuff, reading books, going on courses, and I learned loads. Obviously, it's very useful stuff to do. But one thing I wasn't doing is I wasn't applying. So I consider other people's teachings to be like tools, but the application and timing of those tools comes down to yourself, because only I'm in my body. So only really, truly I can feel and know, if I really tune into the depths of my soul, if you like, when to apply these teachings and tools. So what I wanted to share with you is the practice that I came up with, because I think it's simple in terms of technicality. However, it can highlight stuff which might make you feel more conflicted or overwhelmed, because sometimes, because we feel like we can't deal with something, we just shut it away. And it's a bit like, oh, I'll deal with that garage later on, and it's full of stuff that you need to really empty out. Let's say you've just been hoarding stuff, and really you should, if you're looking for more space in the home and your garage is full of crap. I don't have a garage, by the way, I'm just making it up here. To sort it, it's going to involve some sort of work, right? And then hopefully you don't end up back in the same position, because you create a system which works better and you don't end up needing to clear it out again. So this can bring up discomfort, emotional and mental. However, we've got to go back to this whiteboard here. Remember, the whiteboard isn't affected by what I draw on it, because I can always rub it out. The problems come when I leave the stuff there. And so this is a process of sorting the true thoughts of you and the false thoughts. Once we've sorted them and we can tell the difference between the two, we can discard the things that we feel like don't apply to our lives, and then keep the things that we really resonate with. And you'll know, because what will happen is I noticed I felt lighter, I felt more energetic, I felt less tired, I was eating less, I had more energy, I just felt clearer, more peaceful. So the process of yoga and the meditation and the concentration practices and the sense withdrawal and all these things is a process of going back in and clearing the screen of your mind effectively and getting back to a more balanced state of being. So the practice goes a little bit like this. So if you imagine we've got seven different thoughts, seven different senses. I've broken it down into seven. There might be more, some people might say there's less, but let me describe the seven. So you've got sight, sound, smell, taste and touch, and then you've got thoughts and emotions. Now they're going to come in the form of positive and negative, stuff that we prefer, stuff that we don't, or stuff that resonates and stuff that doesn't resonate. That's how you determine the true from the false, the resonance. However, sometimes we're in such a confused state, we can't even do that. So we start very simply, simple, but not easy because of what you might feel. So we're going to take what we might call witness consciousness. So you just sit slap bang in the middle and just observe the thoughts and emotions passing through the screen of your mind. So imagine that's the screen of your mind there, that whiteboard, and imagine your thoughts just appearing on there, whether they're positive or negative. And we're just observing them. And as we observe them, it's a bit like sorting your garage out. You'll be looking at, oh, do I want to keep this? Oh, I don't know, I'll keep it there for now. So you've got, yes, I want to keep it, definitely, keep it there. No, I don't want to keep this thought, get rid of it. Not sure about this one, let's put it there. So thoughts, you can think of them like objects. And sometimes what happens is we have thoughts that come up on this screen which don't represent us. So for example, Rax, you're really skinny. Okay. And the feeling behind that was, I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not man enough. So there was other stories associated with that one conscious thought, which were in my subconscious mind. You're not going to be, women aren't going to like you. You're not going to be an attractive partner. You're going to have problems with your joints and your bones and all this kind of stuff. All these fearful thoughts, which were, so that was the like the most obvious thought. That was like the outer packaging. But then there was loads of thoughts underneath. And what you can do is that thought true about me? Okay, yes, I'm slim, but is it a bad thing? Let's go to the next one. Does it mean that I'm not going to attract a partner? Well, there's plenty of guys out there that have attracted partners and are quite slim. Also, slim guys can do things like you know, they can dance, they can climb walls, but so can muscular guys. So it's not to do with the physique, but is there something that I can do with my slim body which will make it, which will give me that fulfillment that I think I will only get when I, say, become more muscular? So these are the thoughts that I was kind of working through. And as you do that, what happens is you start to get to the deep ones, the real subconscious mind. And that's the stuff that's been in the garage, if you like, or the whiteboard. You can look at the garage and the whiteboard like this, the same thing buried there. So imagine in your garage, you've got items, or in a room in your house, you've got items that have been there for years. You're going to gather dust, right? You probably forgot that they're there, but it's taking up space in your house. So have a look about, even in your physical home, do you hoard stuff? Do we hoard stuff? Even on our bodies, are we hoarding stuff? Like, the body and the space can represent what's going on a mental level, on a subconscious level, and the outside world is trying to show us that. How do I know? Is that even true? Because don't forget, I'm just giving you advice here. How do you know that this is true? Well, when we start to look, you'll start to notice patterns. But the key message takeaway here is anything that appears on here doesn't have to stay there. You don't have to keep believing what appears on that mind. Rax, you're too skinny. Rax, you're too skinny. Rax, you're too skinny. Now look, hold on a minute. Really? But why is that such a bad thing? Is there another way to look at my frame, this body that I've got? And there's so many other definitions. So I'm quite flexible. My body is very low maintenance. I don't really need to eat much or sleep much or work out that much to feel good. So it's efficient. It's also very strong. My strength to weight ratio is actually pretty good. So what we're doing is we're pruning the thoughts which about ourselves are false, and then we're allowing space for something new to come in. So if you want to buy, say, a brand new sofa, you need to get rid of your old ones first, so you've got space to put your new ones in. But you've got to look at, and you've got to actually look at the shit, so to speak. You can't just ignore it. So to sum up what I've said in this message is the process of clearing the mind and going back to a more blank slate where you can literally create a new life for yourself. Because if it's full, I can't put new stuff on there, but you can always wipe it clean. So whatever you put on there, you can always change. And the message here is you can always upgrade your thoughts. But first, look at what's in your mind. You've got your conscious thoughts, but then underneath that, there'll be more thoughts associated. So the mind was, you're too skinny. Okay, why do I feel shit about that? Because it wasn't just that thought that was creating that feeling. If it was just that thought, there's not much to it. So with the layers to it, that's what created the emotional attachment. You're too skinny. It means that nobody's going to like you. If nobody likes you, you're not going to be loved. If you're not loved, you're not going to feel worthy. If you don't feel worthy, oh, there we go. It's the self-worth. It's a self-worth thing. So the bigger that I look, the more valuable I am. How stupid is that? That's nonsense. That's absolutely garbage, because our worth isn't determined by what we look like. But for some people it is, you see. And so if we buy into how they value themselves, then we're going to limit ourselves. So I changed all that. It's not easy because of what you'll feel. But the method is quite simple, in the sense of all you need to do is sit and watch and observe and work it back. If it helps to write it down, write it down. If you get stuck or you need any advice or anything, just feel free to drop me a message, guys. But yeah, it's still a process I'm working through, but it does work, I promise you. You will feel much lighter, and you'll have an empty whiteboard, and you can start to create the life that you really dream of. Much love. Speak to you soon.